No matter where you live on Earth, it is difficult to get a reliable weather forecast. So, where do you get yours? Well, I believe that not all weather forecasters are created equal. As a matter of fact, in my 15 years of living here, I have tried many different apps and websites trying to find reliable information, especially through the rainy season. And in my time, I have found exactly one. Nicaragua is very unique. It sits in a very thin area of land, and it has the Pacific Ocean directly on the western side and flanked by the Caribbean Sea on the right hand side. And it has a huge body of water right in the middle, Lake Nicaragua. So, with these three humongous bodies of water and this thin strip of land, it makes for some very interesting weather patterns. So if you see here in this map, and if you look to the east in the Caribbean Sea, you can see that they belong to the countries of Western Sahara, Senegal, and Mauritania. So this is where most of the weather that comes across to Nicaragua, where it originates from. And for a geek like me, it's really interesting because you can see these weather patterns start off the tip of Africa, the western tip of Africa, and they kind of gain momentum and change over time as they cross the Atlantic. In the months of June through November, the Atlantic Ocean is very warm. So this warm water, it helps these weather phenomenon or weather events develop. And they make their way towards the Caribbean. And so I am not a scientist, although I can appreciate it. And I don't know that much about weather phenomenon. So that's where I need somebody that I can rely on to tell me how to prepare for anything that might be coming our way. During the months of November through April, we experience these winds that come across from the Caribbean side to the Pacific side. I want to speak specifically to papagayos. No, not that papagayo, but the Papagayo winds. These are winds that are created from the cold, high pressure systems in North America. They sink down into the Caribbean. They get mixed with the trade winds, and they are pushed across Central America. They can be very strong. So we experience these between November and April. So our weather during this time is very breezy, very hot, and very sunny. So that brings us to the month of May. And the weather in May can be summed up in one word: hot. It is very hot in May. It is uncomfortably hot in May. But then that brings us to June, and June brings us the rain. It rains for a little bit. It rains from about June, somewhere in June it starts, and then it goes till about mid-July. In mid-July, our canicula starts. The canicula runs from mid-July to mid-August, and this is a time of year where we don't get a lot of rain. It's maybe referred to as the dog days of summer. So from mid-July to mid-August, there's not a lot of rain. But then at the end of that, that's when we start to get our serious rain. It starts in mid-August and it goes through till mid-September. And then it gets even more serious between September and the end of October. And this is where you really need a professional meteorologist to help you anticipate what is going to happen weather-wise so that you can prepare your life for it. It is not common for us in San Juan del Sur to be affected directly by a hurricane. What we are affected by are hurricanes that sit off in the Caribbean. It sits off of the Caribbean and sits there, and then those bands of rain that go around it, that's what affects us. And it does create flooding and damage, mostly on the eastern side, but it does affect us here. Also, we can get typhoons from the Pacific Ocean that sit there and And again, those bands of rain that come and they can create floods. It doesn't happen very often, but we should be prepared for it. So, the one person, the one meteorologist that I have found that I can trust that gives us a forecast almost every day of the year, his name is Brian Shields. And from his forecasts, I can tell that he probably lives in the Caribbean somewhere. So, his forecasts are focused mainly on the Caribbean, but it follows all of those weather patterns that come across the Atlantic Ocean, giving us a lot of time to prepare for what's ever coming. And not only does he concentrate on the Caribbean, but he includes Central America, both the Atlantic coast and the Pacific coast, in all of his forecasts. And I appreciate that so much. As well, I should mention that his forecasts are in English, they are not in Spanish. So, if you are considering visiting Central America, specifically Nicaragua, or you are considering coming to live here in this gorgeous town, I highly recommend Mr. Weatherman. That can be found right here on YouTube, and I will put his link down below. Anyway, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for listening.